I thought about the squads that could use a guy like me. I think the
Okay.
Commanders is definitely amongst one of them. I think they need a pass rusher. I think that's something that they dearly miss down there in the playoffs and
Yeah.
some of the big games. And I feel like I could fill that role, but that's a role that multiple teams need.
Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Myles Garrett kind of flirting with the idea of going to the Washington Commanders and making some comments on potentially going to the Commanders. So that's what I will be talking about in today's video. But before we do, make sure y'all leave a like down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's video. All right, so Myles Garrett, he was down in New Orleans. I'm pretty sure he still is down in New Orleans for Radio Row, the Super Bowl, obviously. Same with dozens of other players like Jayden. He is down there as well to, do some interviews, sponsorships, stuff like that, right? And Myles Garrett, he was very open yesterday with, him wanting out of Cleveland. He loves Cleveland. He said it in his very official trade request post that he loves Cleveland. However, he just can't win a championship with Cleveland because of where he feels like the team is headed right now with their future. So he wants out, obviously, and it makes sense, right? Like Cleveland, they just haven't been able to get it right. And Myles Garrett, he's 29, about to turn 30 later on this year in December. So he wants to go to a championship team, a Super Bowl contender, and we are, the Commanders, one of those Super Bowl contenders, right? We were one win away from the Super Bowl this season. So Myles Garrett, he sat down, did interviews with the SI and ESPN and other broadcast networks, and with Sports Illustrated, he said when they asked him about, possibly getting traded to the Commanders, he said that, that he would love that, right? Like, he didn't say that. However, he did say that they need a pass rusher. They need an elite defensive player. Obviously, he watched us while we were in the playoffs, while we were making our playoff run. He said that, he notices that they need a elite, great defensive player, specifically a guy off the edge, which we do need. And Garrett obviously said that he would be able to fill in that role, which obviously he would definitely be able to. Getting a guy like Myles Garrett, I talked about this in my video a couple of days ago about him. Getting a guy like him would be absolutely game-changing for this defense. Dante Fowler Jr., he was great for us this season. Dorrance Armstrong, he had a couple of nice games. However, they aren't Myles Garrett. They aren't even close to Myles Garrett, and we know that, right? So we don't have a Myles Garrett on this defense. The closest player on our defense to like a dog like Myles Garrett is Frankie Louvu, and Frankie Louvu isn't Myles Garrett. No disrespect to Frankie Louvu or anything like that. Frankie Louvu is a dog, but he's an off-ball linebacker who rushes the quarterback occasionally. We need that elite edge rusher who is going to get to the quarterback constantly and who is also great at stopping the run, and Myles Garrett would 100% provide that for us. Now, obviously, you'd have to give up quite a bit to get a guy like Myles Garrett's caliber, and obviously, rightfully so, right? Like, right now, I don't think the Browns trade him because they really don't have to trade him. Just because he requested a trade doesn't mean, the Browns are going to have to trade him, right? Like, he doesn't have the most power in this situation. The Browns do. So they don't have to trade him if they don't want to. However, if he makes it hard enough on the Browns to the point where they kind of have to trade him, then that's when they'll probably start to entertain some trade talks, right? And maybe we get to that point, right? We'll see. But, right now, I don't think the Browns will trade him. However, if they do, then it's going to take quite a bit. Probably starts at 2 first-round picks, and then you'll probably have to give up a day 2 pick on top of that, maybe a day 3 pick, as well as a player, right? I've been seeing fans on social media, Commanders fans on social media, say that we could give up like a first-round pick, Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen, in like a second-round pick or a third-round pick. Like, the Browns aren't going to go for that because, first off, if they move on from Myles Garrett, they have to eat up a lot of dead cap. So that's one of the reasons why I just don't see them trading him, right? Because they're already suffering from the Deshaun Watson contract. So why would they dig themselves into a deeper hole by trading Myles Garrett and eating up all of that dead money they would have to if they were to trade Myles Garrett to another team, right? So that right there just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Browns, right? So that's one of the reasons why I don't see them making a trade or trading Myles Garrett to another team, right? Because they would have to eat up a whole lot of dead money. So saying that Daron Payne or Jonathan Allen being added to a deal to try and attempt to get Garrett could get it done, I just don't believe that, because Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, both guys have pretty big cap numbers tied to them as well. And the Browns aren't in the greatest situation cap-wise or financially, right? So adding a guy like Daron Payne or John Allen to the roster wouldn't help their cap situation outright. So that's why I don't really see adding a John Allen or Daron Payne would be able to get it done for a Myles Garrett, right? So once again, it'll take a lot to get a guy like Myles Garrett, and rightfully so, right? He is, in my opinion, the best edge rusher in the NFL, and one could argue the best defensive player in the NFL right now, even though he is 29 years old, which isn't old, but he will only be getting older, which could affect a trade. However, it's not like he's going to fall off or anything like that. Like, if you're an elite edge rusher like Myles Garrett, you are not going to fall off a cliff after you get traded to another team, right? Or once you enter 30, right? So Myles Garrett, he's going to stay elite for a while. He talked about Jayden Daniels. He was asked about possibly playing for a young quarterback like Jayden Daniels. He was asked that by Mina Kimes. Shout out to Mina for asking that. And he said he would love it, right? Like Jayden, he was incredible this year, of course. He balled out against the Browns. Garrett saw it firsthand. Had like over 300 yards in that game, including like 83 or 86 yards rushing. And he had the 2 deep bomb passes, one to Terry McLaurin, rolling out to his right on the move, launching it, and then the one to De'Ami Brown for the touchdown, deep ball touchdown, right? So, you know, JD had a great game versus the Browns, and Myles Garrett saw it firsthand. So he would obviously love to play for a quarterback like Jayden. Obviously, we aren't the only team that's going to be in for Myles Garrett, or the only team that Myles Garrett would be interested in playing for. He was asked about the Eagles, and he said, I mean, yeah, he would like to play for the Eagles, right? That's a contender. Who wouldn't like to play for the Eagles, right? I mean, they just made their second Super Bowl in the past 3 years, so why wouldn't he want to play with the Eagles, right? So, you know, there's going to be a lot of teams wanting him, a lot of contenders wanting him. We are not going to be the only team wanting him. However, if we can get a guy like Myles Garrett on this squad, man, that would be an absolute game changer for us. And real quick, going over Myles Garrett's contract, his remaining years left with the Cleveland Browns, $19.7 million is how much he is due, or actually that's his cap hit for this season. And then in 2026, he is due $20.3 million. That's his cap hit right there. So he has no more guaranteed money left on his deal at all, and he's going to want a new contract, right? So just remember, keep this in your mind, that if you trade for Myles Garrett, you also have to pay him, right? So on top of giving up all of those assets to get him, you also have to get him a new contract as well, right? By the way, that doesn't, push me away from wanting Myles Garrett, right? We have the money to pay him, and we do have the capital to give up to get him as well. Although he will be expensive, once again, rightfully so, for a player of that caliber in Myles Garrett, right? So it's just incredible to see players wanting to come play for the Commanders now. And hey, man, it's just a testament to how great Jayden Daniels is, how great of a season it was for us, how great of a, culture Dan Quinn and Adam Peters brought in, built in this locker room. So it's just absolutely incredible how much we did in one season and how it's going to change the trajectory of this franchise. And we're now seeing, the positives of it, right? Players actually want to play for us, and getting a guy like Myles Garrett on this team would be absolutely incredible for our progression. So that's it for today's video. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're not already subbed up. We're getting super close to 5,000 subscribers. Think we're just under 40 subscribers away from hitting that number. So if you're not already subbed up, make sure to hit that sub button. I'd really appreciate it. And make sure to turn on notifications. Next week, I'm going to start talking about some free agents at different positions that the Commanders could target in free agency once we hit free agency, which is about a month away. And other than that, it's been King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.